mental health, and student athletes. We're drawing on some insights from a recent UPMC and Pittsburgh Penguins Foundation event. We've got perspectives from a psychiatrist at Resolve Crisis Center, who is actually a student athlete too, and Dr. Kevin Wildenhouse, a clinical psychologist who works with the Penguins. Figure out who might need some extra support, what you can actually do if you see someone struggling, where to find help when things get serious, and, well, just knowing when you should step in.
Student athletes are going through this intense period of development anyway. You've got academic stress, maybe money worries, sleep getting messed up, social media pressures, figuring out new emotions, all that stuff.
And then you pile on the demands of competitive sports.
Right. It just adds another layer, sometimes a really intense one. The environment these young athletes navigate is complex. That constant connection, maybe through phones, can actually sometimes increase stress.
So it's more than just typical teenage moodiness we should be looking for.
Yeah, definitely. And the first signs might not be them saying, "I feel sad." Often it's changes in behavior.
Like what kind of changes?
Maybe they seem more irritable than usual, or just off, not their typical self. And often, people close to them, coaches, teammates, you are in the best spot to notice because you know their baselines. Losing interest in things they usually enjoy is a big one. Do they seem less engaged, less enthusiastic?
And maybe pulling back socially too.
Yeah, exactly. Missing team get-togethers, not hanging out with friends as much, just kind of withdrawing.
And how does this show up in their sport?
Well, you might see a dip in athletic performance, more than just, having a bad day or two. It could be linked to less motivation, maybe trouble concentrating, or even just apathy. Like they don't care as much.
Did sleep affect that too?
Oh, absolutely. Changes in sleep, often tied to mood, can definitely impact performance. And sometimes, interestingly, you might see vague physical complaints. They feel sick. Doctors can't find a clear reason.
Wow. So their body might be signaling something's wrong.
It kind of seems that way sometimes, yeah. Academics can also suffer.
Same reasons. Lack of focus, motivation.
Apathy, maybe sleep issues hitting their concentration. And going back to the social side, especially in team sports, seeing someone isolate themselves from teammates, that can be a really significant flag.
Okay. And eating habits.
Changes there, too. Could be eating more, could be eating less. And this isn't necessarily about body image stuff. It could just be another sign that their mood is off.
What do you do?
The main thing is do something. Don't ignore it. Research shows that high schoolers, especially, are more likely to talk to someone they know and trust first, like a coach, not necessarily a therapist right away.
So people listening are actually in a really key position.
Absolutely. There's a helpful framework called ACT. ACT.
Okay, tell me about ACT.
A is for acknowledge. Notice the change, gently mention what you've seen, let them know you're there to help, that your relationship matters. Just making it okay to not be okay,
That validation must be huge, just acknowledging it. What's C?
C is for collect. Ask open-ended questions. Try to understand what's going on. How long have they felt this way? Have they talked to anyone? And this is crucial. You need to specifically ask about suicide or self-harm.
That sounds tough, asking that directly.
It can be, but it's necessary. You might start gently, maybe asking about passive thoughts, like wishing they wouldn't wake up, and then ask more directly if needed. And be aware of warning signs.
What kind of warning signs?
Things like talking about being a burden, feeling hopeless or trapped, big struggles after a loss or rejection, sometimes even a sudden, unexplained improvement in mood after being down.
Really? Improvement can be a sign.
Yeah, sometimes it means they've made a decision, which is worrying. Also, giving away important things, deleting social media, past attempts, big personality shifts, changes in sleep or eating, more risky behavior. Lots of things to be aware of.
Got it. Okay, so acknowledge, collect, and T.
Key is take steps. Figure out how urgent this is right now. You're not diagnosing, but you need to think about immediate safety. Ask them if they feel safe. Are they worried they might hurt themselves? Maybe suggest talking to someone else together, a counselor, parents.
And if you're really worried?
Don't wait. If they seem overwhelmed and you're concerned, call for help with them right then.
Yeah.
A crisis is basically when someone's usual ways of coping just aren't enough anymore.
So in that crisis moment, or even for ongoing support, where do people turn?
Think, talk, come, go. It's a simple way to remember options.
Okay, talk.
That's things like school counselors, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which is great because it connects you locally based on your location.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. Or you can call local crisis centers directly. They often answer really fast, like within seconds sometimes, plus specific helplines for certain groups.
That speed is vital. What about come?
Come is for resources that come to the person.
Hmm.
Mobile crisis teams, you can get them through 988 or the local center. Some areas even have integrated mental health paramedics now. They can assess on scene and figure out next steps.
Okay, talk, come, and go.
Go is places you can physically go. County crisis centers for walk-in help. Psychiatric emergency departments like Western Psych here in Pittsburgh. Even regular hospital ERs can help initially. And for kids, there's the UPMC Children's Behavioral Health Walk-In.
So there's a spectrum of care available.
Right. From outpatient therapy all the way to inpatient hospitalization. Knowing the specific level needed is for the professionals, but it helps to know these options exist. Things like Psych Care Plus or the Psychiatric Access Clinic try to make finding outpatient care easier too.
It does sound like there are systems in place, and the bottom line on when to act is...
When you notice something seems wrong, don't wait.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Dr. Wildenhouse talked about why we might be seeing more mental health challenges lately, especially with student athletes.
Yeah, he pointed out this trend started way back in the early 2000s, well before COVID. We've seen increases in depression, self-harm, suicide, especially among girls, but also in boys. And more anxiety, depression, ADHD, bipolar diagnoses in college students too.
So it's been building for a while. What does he think is behind it?
He mentioned Jonathan Haidt's work, linking it pretty strongly to the rise of smartphones and social media. The timing fits, Smartphones really took off around 2012. Now, most teens have them, spending like 8 to 10 hours a day on them.
8 to 10 hours. Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of that is social media.
How does social media feed into the problems?
Well, it just opens the door to so much judgment, comparison, evaluation, bullying, rejection. It's constant. The NCAA data on online harassment of athletes is pretty stark.
I saw that 1 in 3 D1 athletes, and way worse during March Madness.
Right, and female basketball players getting it 3 times more than male players. It's a lot. And even though it seems like connection, it can actually lead to feeling more disconnected, more isolated. Plus, these platforms are designed to be addictive.
Affecting sleep and stuff, too.
Definitely. Affecting sleep, nutrition, basic self-care, kids on their phones late, checking them first thing. It disrupts everything.
He mentioned FOP as well.
Yeah, FOP, fear of other people's opinions. Social media is like a petri dish for that. Fear of negative comments, fear of not getting enough likes, fear of being ignored. It really chips away at self-worth.
Mm. And he contrasted that with different ways of seeing yourself, right? Performance versus purpose.
Exactly. Performance-based identity relies on external stuff. Grades, stats, likes, how you look. It's very dependent on outside approval.
Which can disappear pretty quickly.
Totally. He argued for building a purpose-based identity instead. That's intrinsic based on your values, your character, your sense of mission, who you are beyond the scoreboard or the report card.
So your worth isn't tied just to your last game or test.
Right. It makes you more resilient when things go wrong, because something will go wrong eventually. So again, what this really highlights is just how different the landscape is for young people today. That constant online pressure adds a whole layer we didn't necessarily have.
That ties into the fear of failure he talked about, too.
Yeah, he feels we've become a very fear-based society, especially around failure. He told this story about a student who was actually looking forward to failing in college because they'd never been allowed to before.
Wow, we need to let kids fail sometimes.
We absolutely do. It's how you learn resilience, how you learn to get back up. It's not the end of the world.
And that connects to Dr. Becky Kennedy's idea, the learning space.
That space between not knowing and knowing, it's often messy, frustrating. But if you can reframe that frustration, not as I'm dumb, but as, okay, my brain is working, I'm learning, it helps you stick with it, build persistence.
Okay, so knowing the challenges and the contributing factors, how do we actually promote positive mental health? How do we build that resilience? Dr. Wildenhouse had those 10 characteristics.
He did mention 10, things that act as buffers. He stressed that we as supportive adults can influence these. He did expand on the 7 C's model for resilience.
Right, the 7 C's. Let's go through those.
First is competence, helping athletes set goals that are tough but reachable, so they get that feeling of accomplishment.
Builds belief in their ability.
Exactly, which leads to the second C, confidence. But he sees confidence as an outcome of good preparation and past success. Not fake hype, but real trust in yourself, built through hard work.
Earned confidence. Okay, what else?
Connection. that feeling of belonging, being part of something bigger, the team, a cause, whatever it is. Then character grounding identity in core values, having roles outside of just athlete.
So they're more than just their sport.
Precisely. Fifth is contribution, feeling like your role, whatever it is, matters and is valued by the group. Sixth is coping actively, teaching ways to handle stress and pressure.
Practical skills.
And the last one is control, helping them see they have agency over their own thoughts, emotions, actions, focusing on what they can control.
Those 7 C's seem like a really solid framework. Did he offer specific ways to talk about these things, practical strategies?
Yeah, he really pushed shifting from talking at athletes to asking questions and really listening. He used that anagram listen as the same letters as silent.
Huh, that's clever. So less advice giving, more understand.
Ask things like, what are your core values? Help them connect their effort to those values, not just the score, like praising determination even after a loss.
Reframing success.
For teams, he suggested post-game chats focused on learning. What did you feel? What were the challenges? How can we solve this? Get the team involved. He mentioned a bounce-back routine, like deep breath plus a physical gesture, find an anchor point, then positive self-talk. Let it go. Next play. Something quick to reset after a mistake.
I like that. Simple, actionable. What about that negative inner voice, the inner critic?
Yeah, crucial one. He talked about challenging the critic with an inner coach, a more helpful instructional voice. There's apparently a 6-step process in handouts, but the idea is to recognize the critic, question it, replace it.
Like changing the channel in your head.
Kind of, yeah. Or using music to shift your brain state, even creating a team inner voice or motto.
And for building that team connection.
He loved the circle of appreciation. Everyone shares something they appreciate about the person next to them.
Any other exercises?
The circle of control. Drawing a circle and putting things inside it that you can control, thoughts, effort, attitude, self-care, and things outside you can't. Refs, opponents, weather. Helps focus energy where it matters.
Reduces worry about the uncontrollables.
Right. And he finished by saying, optimism is a skill you can learn and model. Ask questions that pull out their resilience, the times they did cope well. For parents, the advice was shift conversations toward values, well-being, be curious, look for the story behind the story if something seems off, and still hold kids accountable.
No excuses but understanding.
Yeah. And for teams, clear communication about commitment, even when injured. Also a push for advocating for mandatory mental health training for high school coaches, sharing stories.
What else?
A need for more data on mental health, specific to race among athletes, was brought up. And, of course, social media strategies. Things like media fasts, turning off DMs, making profiles private, really understanding your own relationship with it. Maybe role-playing responses to nasty comments. Using Solomon's paradox, what advice would you give a friend? Questioning how much weight you give strangers' opinions. Seeking out positive content, too, like recovery stories.
Good practical tips.
Support for athletes with chronic illnesses, connecting them with others who get it, validating those often invisible struggles.
So wrapping this up for everyone listening, the big message seems to be you're really in a key spot to notice and respond.
Definitely. You don't need to be a therapist, but knowing those ACT steps, knowing where help is available, that's huge.
And focusing on building that purpose-based identity, letting kids know it's okay to struggle and even fail sometimes, that seems foundational.
Building that internal strength, that resilience, is so important for navigating everything life throws at them, in sports and beyond.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Think about just one thing from this conversation. Maybe the ACT model, maybe asking about values, maybe the circle of appreciation. How could you try putting just one of these ideas into practice this week with the young athletes you interact with?
Yeah, just starting somewhere. Keep exploring the resources. Keep learning. It really matters.
The podcast, Heavy or Not, uses characters and many voices within our episodes. And one of the mainstays of the program is artificial intelligence, or AI. Under no circumstances will we use AI to make believe the comments are coming from a real person.
Make a few clicks and subscribe to the podcast. Heavy or Not, the OG Swim Guide is in production.
At the recent Central States Coaches Clinic, I got to meet with Arizona State head coach Herbie Breen. We picked up the conversation about the inclusion of the 50 fly, 50 back, 50 breast in the Olympic program. And he had a wonderful suggestion, my voice, his idea, to have the medley relay, the 200 medley relay. It's the first event in the high school meet, and they could also add it in the college program. where the opposing coach or the opposing captain gets to go to the team and tell the 4 relay swimmers what order to swim the event. So back breast fly free, you go first, you go second, he goes third, you go fourth. So it would take in a lot of strategy and tactics and recruiting and understanding the opposition. I think it'd be a great relationship defensive element to add to the sport. And it would also ensure that all of the swimmers got to be proficient in all of the strokes, because when they go into the medley relay, they're not sure exactly what stroke they're going to swim.
Thanks for all you do for our world of sport, your community, and the youth of tomorrow. We hope to see you again at wafsu.org and the International Swim Coaches Association event soon. Stay tuned for new exciting services coming at ago.lap.red. Stay safe.
Wait, one last thing. Do you have a school or team mascot? We'd love to see it. Send us a photo of you with your mascot. We're gathering a fun collection for the next edition of Mental Skills for Young Athletes. In the book and course, animal mascots come to life, sharing mental skills and preparing for a big sports festival. They help bring sports psychology to life for kids of all ages. We would love to include you in your mascot photos. Check the show notes for the link, youcanswim.wetransfer.com. That's the letter U for the United States, and then CAN, as in Canada. One of our favorite mascots is the parrot. The parrot mascot helped kick off Pittsburgh's Take a Father to School Day. Thanks in advance for sending us your mascot photos.